Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be back. Can't wait to be out on court and I hope to see you there.
The screaming hit before she even cleared the gate. Red, white, and blue flags snapped in the fluorescent light of an Austrian arrivals hall, where 30 or 40 voices chanted one name. As 20-year-old Alex stepped forward, she entered a country that 30,000 Filipinos already call home. She had not struck a single practice ball at the Upper Austria ladies' Linz. She had not even reached her hotel, yet the Filipino army had already transformed the airport into a stadium. What happened next? What tournament officials reportedly tried to contain, and what even a 22-time Grand Slam champion could not ignore, revealed that this movement has grown far beyond anything the WTA calendar was built to handle. 72 hours before those airport scenes erupted, Eala was grinding on the red clay courts of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. Footage posted on March 31 showed her locked in intense baseline rallies, preparing for her first ever Linz Open appearance as a seeded player in the WTA 500 draw. Her ranking had slipped to number 45 after a painful Miami exit, and the clay swing represented her fastest route back inside the top 30. Then she landed in Austria, and the tennis world remembered that rankings only tell part of Alex's story. The Linz Open is a well-run WTA 500 event. Defending champion Ekaterina Alexandrova returns, the draw is competitive, and the venue is intimate. That last detail, intimacy, is precisely the problem. Experts have alleged that the Linz Open's ticketing and venue policies are woefully unprepared for what is descending upon them. One prominent tennis analyst put it bluntly: 30,000 Filipinos live in Austria alone, and millions more are a short flight away from anywhere in Europe.
Look at this. I mean, this was in Australia.
The analyst accused the tournament of effectively blocking the 2 million-strong Filipino army from fully showing up. Whether through limited seat allocations, restricted general admission, or a simple failure to scale, the specific policies remain unconfirmed, but the pattern is unmistakable. At the Australian Open in January, Eala's side court became the loudest venue on the entire grounds.
Filipino tennis star Alex Eala has sent Melbourne Park crowds into an absolute frenzy.
In Dubai, flag-waving fans overwhelmed designated seating sections. At Indian Wells and Miami, tournament staff scrambled to manage crowds that showed up not for seeds or rankings, but for her. Every single time, the infrastructure buckled. Every single time, the energy was labeled a surprise. At what point does surprise become negligence? The airport footage is where the story stops being theoretical and becomes visceral. Eala walked through the arrivals corridor in late March 2026, and fans engulfed her. Filipino flags draped over shoulders, and phone cameras were raised like lighters at a concert as chanting echoed off the terminal ceiling. This was not a coordinated PR event. There was no media handler orchestrating the moment. These were members of the Filipino diaspora in Austria, people who work in Vienna, Salzburg, and Graz, who tracked her flight and showed up because Alex Eala represents something no tennis ranking can quantify. Put yourself in the shoes of a Linz tournament director watching that footage on a phone screen that same evening. Your venue seats a few thousand, your defending champion draws polite applause, and a 20-year-old who has never set foot in your city just turned your country's airport into a pep rally before the draw was even finalized. That is the moment you realize you are not hosting a tennis tournament anymore. You are hosting a cultural event for which you did not plan. The numbers confirm what the video suggests. Approximately 30,000 Filipinos reside in Austria, a verified community deeply rooted across the country's major cities. Factor in the broader European Filipino diaspora communities in Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom, all within a 2-hour flight of Linz, and the potential crowd swell becomes staggering. These are not hypothetical supporters. They mobilized for the Australian Open, they filled stands in Dubai, and they painted Indian Wells red, white, and blue. This pattern is documented across 4 continents and 5 tournaments in under 12 months. On Monday, in Mallorca, clay court drills at the Nadal Academy featured sweat on red dirt, a champion's preparation hidden from the public eye. By Wednesday, viral airport footage was seen by hundreds of thousands. On Sunday, April 6th, the Linz main draw begins. That compression, moving from silent training to a global phenomenon in less than a week, captures exactly why Eala's trajectory defies conventional tennis logic. Her game improves in private, while her impact detonates in public. Here is what the fans tracking every development already understood before the mainstream caught on. This is not a one-off spectacle. An Australian Open side court turned into the tournament's loudest arena. Dubai saw emotional crowd scenes that left commentators searching for words. And Indian Wells experienced a cultural takeover so thorough that it dominated social media for days. In Miami, tens of thousands showed up for a player ranked outside the top 30. First one continent, then two, then three, now four. First hard courts in Melbourne, then in the desert, then in California and Florida, and now clay in Central Europe. The surface changes and the country changes, but the army does not. You saw this pattern forming before the pundits did. Before the analysts scrambled to explain why a number 45 draw was generating number 1 attendance energy, every tournament that underestimated the Filipino army learned the same lesson. Linz is reportedly about to learn it next, when the greatest clay court player in the history of tennis opens his academy doors to a young Filipina and later tells the world he sees her like my own daughter. That is not casual praise. That is Rafael Nadal, 22 Grand Slam titles, 14 French Opens, and a competitor whose name is synonymous with the surface. Eala is about to compete on in Linz, offering something he has extended to almost no one outside his inner circle. Eala herself revealed the depth of that relationship in a March 30 interview, and her words carried the kind of vulnerability that manufactured endorsements cannot replicate. Although I went to the Rafa Nadal Academy, I am still intimidated by him, she said. My tongue gets tied when I see him. She even admitted to ghosting his messages for days, not out of disrespect, but out of sheer awe. Nadal's investment in Eala is not a marketing arrangement. It is a mentorship forged on the same clay courts where she prepared for Linz, at the same academy whose training footage went viral just days ago. When a player of his magnitude publicly embraces a rising star with that level of personal conviction, it transfers something no ranking algorithm can measure. It transfers belief, and that belief radiates outward to the 30,000 Filipinos in Austria, to the millions watching from Manila, and to the tournament directors who still have not figured out that this is no longer a curiosity, it is a coronation in progress. The Linz Open runs from April 6 through April 12. If Eala reaches the semifinals on clay, a surface sharpened under Nadal's direct guidance, she re-enters the top 30. The math is clean, and the opportunity is immediate. However, what is unfolding in Austria signals something larger than one player's ranking trajectory. Tennis has always been shaped by European and American crowds, with its economics, broadcast deals, and sponsorship valuations all built around audiences in London, Paris, New York, and Melbourne. Eala is rewriting that equation. A single Filipino star is generating attendance, surges, and social media engagement that rival top 5 seeds at premier events. Sponsors who ignored Southeast Asian markets 12 months ago are now watching airport footage from Linz and recalculating. After Austria, the clay swing rolls into Stuttgart and then Madrid, 2 massive European events where the Filipino diaspora presence is even larger. 450,000 Filipinos live in Germany, and over 200,000 reside in Spain. If Linz becomes the cultural phenomenon that every data point predicts, Stuttgart and Madrid will not have the luxury of calling it unexpected. The army is not arriving. The army is already there, embedded in every European city that hosts a WTA event. 3 weeks before the Austrian airport erupted, Eala walked off the court in Miami, having lost to Karolina Muchova 6-0, 6-2. It was later revealed that she played through a minor muscle tear, a fact her coaching team confirmed only after the match. No excuses were offered publicly, no withdrawal, and no extended recovery announcement. Within days, she was back on clay at the Nadal Academy. The March 31 training footage showed no visible hesitation, full swings, and deep lateral movement. This is the kind of baseline intensity that does not come from a player protecting an injury. It comes from a player who absorbed a loss, processed it in private, and chose work over sympathy. Eala posted no explanation and offered no defense. She let the red clay answer for her. An Austrian arrivals hall turned into a stadium. 30,000 Filipinos are already planted across the country. There is red clay preparation guided by the greatest to ever play the surface, and a tournament is allegedly scrambling to contain an audience it never anticipated. Finally, a 20-year-old who lost 6-0 3 weeks ago played through a muscle tear and responded by boarding a plane to a country that was already chanting her name before she arrived. Alex Eala has forced professional tennis into a choice it keeps trying to delay. Adapt to the cultural force she represents, or keep pretending that venue capacity and traditional ticket models can hold back a movement that spans 4 continents and 30 million overseas Filipinos. The sport's answer at Linz, starting April 6, will tell us everything. Laban lang, keep fighting. That phrase carried across the airport terminal in Austria. It carries across every arena she enters, and it carries across an ocean to every Filipino watching this who recognized what Eala was building before the tennis establishment did. Your conviction was not early. The sport was late. So, here is the question that Linz will answer in 6 days. Will this tournament embrace the Filipino army and give them the stage they have earned at every stop this season? Or will they repeat the same miscalculation that every prior event made? Drop your prediction in the comments. If you have been following Eala's rise since before the rankings caught up, since before the airports, the flag waving, and the Nadal co-signs this channel is where your people are. Subscribe because this clay swing through Linz, Stuttgart, and Madrid is going to be the most important month of her career. The community tracking every set, every crowd, and every moment she forces tennis to evolve lives right here.